If you had any prior experience with Dune as just a work before this, do you remember what it was and what your first exposure to it might have been?
Mine was the first Villeneuve movie, so not that long ago, really. I was a real Dune version, total newbie, but what an incredible universe, really.
Yeah, I was quite disappointed to find that our planet was damp. I was quite looking forward to going somewhere warm. Sandy. But no, we were frequently sort of hosed down by a man with a sort of fine water mist. A man came to fit a new television in my house, and I told him I was playing Tula Harkonnen, and he knelt down at my feet.
No.
And I was like, okay, this is like, I better learn my lines. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people's hopes and dreams contained within this.
For sure, yeah. I mean, these are iconic names in the Dune world.
I know that now.
Yeah.
You wish to serve the great houses, shape the flow of power. You must first exert power over yourself. But power comes with a price.
I want to know, are there any like iconic images or elements from the films or the novels that have really stuck out to you and helped you dive into the world for this series?
From the first film, the image that is kind of burned into my mind is that shot of the Bene Gesserit coming off of the ship, and we kind of have our own version of that shot in our show. The silhouettes of those characters, the Truthsayers. It was a big influence in how we designed that wardrobe. And from the books, I mean, what I loved about that book as a kid, even though I really couldn't conceptualize it, but as an adult I come to appreciate it, is that it's just one giant reversal on the hero's journey. And because Frank Herbert was sort of believed to beware of your heroes. That thematically is also a big influence of the story that we're telling.
For me, it was the Prana Bindu.
Right, yeah.
That's what it's called, right?
It's called the
saying
Prana
that right,
Bindu.
which is like a meditation that we obviously learnt the choreography, but it meant that we had to do the moves and we had to kind of learn it to an ability that we could do on the side of a cliff with rain and wind pouring at us.
That was
which actually takes a level of meditation, and which I've never done before, but it was very much like character and actor kind of joining, because we're literally learning, as the characters are, learning these moves and trying to be able to do them with a level of calmness and control and ease. So that was very much for me something that was kind of like aligned.
Yeah, I think for me, like the specifics that I was really interested in was, I feel like the sisterhood is kind of a bit culty, but within that, you've got like the Machine Wars and like the Butlerian Jihad and the Orange Catholic Bible. That for me was like something I really want, even though like Lila doesn't have that much experience like encountering the Orange Catholic Bible and stuff, but I know that Aoife's character,
Sister Emmeline.
Yeah, Sister Emmeline has a lot to do with the religious side of the sisterhood. I just find it so interesting that like how deep like Frank Herbert went with the whole society, and I thought the religious aspect was really interesting, and
there's also so many worlds as well.
So many worlds
that we don't
so many
like. We get
factions.
little bits in this, which I think people who know the Juniverse and know will go, oh,
yeah. It's dotted everywhere.
Yeah, which I think it will be so cool.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind, obviously, is the worms. And I don't know how that doesn't, in some way, connect you to a sort of primal Dune energy. For anyone who doesn't know, the sandworms of Arrakis are part of what produce the spice that's the most precious resource in the universe. And because those creatures are so ancient and live for so long untouched. So I would say maybe that's an image for me.
Were you about to say this thing about the worm?
No, you told me.
Oh yeah,
about yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. I guess Timothy Chalamet's son becoming a worm. That was. I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, we're going there.
Not Timothy Chalamet, it's Paul Atreides.
Yes, Paul. Timothy Chalamet's son. Paul Atreides' son.
He doesn't have a son yet, but he will. We've seen it.
Yeah.
We found that out yesterday, and
becomes a worm.
Yeah, wow.
I think for me, one of the interesting was the actual truth in the history of the battle between the Harkonnens and the Atreides, in terms of going back into doing the sisterhood and finding out about how that came to be and the levels of misunderstanding and cross wires, and then what was born out of that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I loved learning about how it all started with the sisterhood and the Bene Gesserit and all of their abilities. Yeah, when I watched the first film, I wanted to see more. I think Jessica's character is, and Rebecca Ferguson, amazing actress. I was just like, so yeah, when I found out about the show, I was very thrilled. Yeah.
I mean, obviously I saw the David Lynch film as a kid, and you know what I love about the books is just that, you know, I think that there's something really zeitgeisty about them, and that, you know, that they're all about this crisis of resources, and also incredibly prescient, this sort of fear of, I guess our equivalent would be AI in the Dune universe. It's the thinking machines. So I think that's a very powerful internal image to have, and it feels very relatable, very real. This sense of how finite this world that they have is really raises the stakes for the characters. So I would say that was the kind of most powerful imagery for me. You know, he was kind of right on the money, I think, when he was writing, and he was writing at a time, you know, in the 60s where there was a lot of sort of political turmoil going on, you know, in America with the assassination of JFK. And so it's, you know, it's a very alive topic that he's exploring. So yeah, I think this whole idea of how it chimes in now with the discussion that we're having over AI and how potentially disruptive that is to our sense of self, you know, is fascinating. So, you know, it's in a way fortuitous to us to be making this at this particular moment in time.
It's a really interesting take, I think, and you know, the fact that, you know, and sci-fi has had a brilliant way of doing this throughout the years of like predicting elements of the future almost, you know. I really hope we don't get to the future where we are in the show. Robots kind of terrifying, but you know, it's a really interesting take on what could be and what could happen if you know, if we had to overcome the rise of the machines, you know. But it sets such it brings such stakes to our show, I think, because it puts so many people on edge, and it's such a taboo thing that when the presence of a thinking machine is there, everyone's reaction is kind of different in different houses. So it really provides a good jumping off point for the show.
Yeah, it definitely makes it feel more tangible and real when we kind of are on the forefront of stuff like that at the moment with AI and all the things that are happening. Makes it feel very real.
Yeah, you really get why like this universe resonates with so many people, also through different generations, you know, that's just so relevant.
As AI becomes more advanced in our world, we will become slower and slowly dominated by it. In Dune Prophecy, we've cut the tether, and now humanity is back in control, sort of their own fate. But, you know, are they prepared for it? Will the worst of them destroy them? And you know, an organization like the Sisterhood kind of jumps into that gap to kind of act as a guardrail so we don't destroy ourselves. But to do that, you have to create large elements of control.
I run a school for young women. We're not a threat to anyone.